धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः।
ओम सहनं भवतु सहनं भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनाधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै. The translation says, let us sit down and study together. Through discussion, we sharpen each other's intellect. May we not bear any ill will towards each other.
Today we are going to verse 2 to 11. It's the only time when Duryodhana watch, means Duryodhana speaks, and that's the beginning of the war. And when Duryodhana comes, he comes as a general, he comes as a soldier, he is doing mathematical calculation and he's about his strategy, and he goes to his guru, Drona, and he talks about, says, look at our soldiers. But he first starts with, look at Pandavas, look at the opposition, and then he starts evaluating his own and comparing the two. And it's Duryodhana is an intelligent person. I must give that. Duryodhana is also very strong physically, and he's well-trained soldier. But something went wrong in his development, in his thinking, in the company he kept, and in the decisions he made. So we can go one by one. And one of the things I wanted to bring out from you, of course, is making the choices we make in our life, and how Duryodhana's choices, in the end, we can see how those choices were kind of worked against him.
That's wonderful. Looking at Duryodhana, as you said, he's a very skillful warrior, king. No doubt about it. As a matter of fact, during his lessons with Drona and all that, the only person who was close to him was Bhima in the battle of May, using maces, Gada.
Yep.
Okay. And that was his specialty. Okay. Duryodhana has a larger army than the Pandavas. He has got more famed warriors on his side. He looks at it. He goes to Drona and enumerates all those things that he has. But Duryodhana's biggest problem was his ego. And that became his downfall, because it clouded all his judgment, okay, and actions. And in Mahabharata, Duryodhana is epitome of the ill effects of ego, how it shrouds and clouds the intelligent decisions.
Yeah. I mean, his ego came in the way, definitely. But do you think he was also doing it for self-interest? Like the whole war happened because he was an unopposed kind of reign. And there was no place for coexistence.
I think his ego was the most important thing, because the Pandavas wanted only 5 little villages. This was a very tiny part of his kingdom. If he offered them, he would have satisfied the Pandavas and he would have enjoyed the kingdom.
Right.
But his selfishness and his ego, his revenge, his grudge towards Bhima, okay, it all clouded his judgment. So he said, I would not give the even few granules of soil that can be held a tip of a needle. I mean, this statement reverberates throughout his life, and this is the one that clouds his judgment.
So, right. So one choice he made is to have a war rather than give 5 villages. And that definitely was because of his ego and, of course, probably some part of selfishness there. The other choice that he made, when he went to Krishna, and he had an opportunity there to make choice because he was given the first choice. Can you elaborate on that one as well?
Yes, the story goes like that Krishna was laying down and Arjun and Duryodhan both went to him and they asked for his help. Okay. And Krishna gave them the choice that either they take Krishna on their side or Krishna's entire army. Okay. And Duryodhan was given the first choice, and there that shows his choice shows his lack of judgment or clouded judgment. He chose the army over Krishna. Yeah, you can have the army, you can have all the power, but if you cannot plan strategy, what Krishna was, the great strategist, he missed that opportunity.
Yeah.
That's and that is often seen in our lives too. Okay, the important part of this whole character of Duryodhan, it shows us how our intellect can get clouded. Even if we have it, we cannot use it properly.
Right.
And that's what Duryodhan character is.
I think it's so important, this choices in our life that we make. And it comes in many, many junctions. We make the choices, and is it choice that is kind of going to help me or hurt me? It only it as an after effect, but it's too late to go back and make that choice. So Duryodhan didn't have a choice. Once he made that choice, he had to do that. I think Duryodhan went and Arjun went as a representative of Yudhishthira.
There is another point I would like to make, which is important in our life. When we have made a wrong choice and we see the ill effects of it, okay, you have to give up that choice. Okay,
yeah, that's a good point. Either you give up or you learn from it, So
either you learn or if you see that it is not going according to your expectation, you should change course.
Yeah.
Okay, but there again, the ego and the intense expectation prevents you to change your course. And
that's a very good point, Amit. But the other point I really want to bring here is once you make the choice, so that's where the free will, whatever word you use, so the choice making is in your hands, depending on how you are brought up, what kind of forces are around you, and all that. But once you make that decision, you follow that course. It's again, it's like if you and I made the decision to move, to America, the life in America will dictate a lot of things in our life. So that choice, Duryodhan makes the one choice, and then he has to kind of, it's like, it's not destined or it's not like something bad, but yes, if you make the choice of war, then you might win, you might lose.
I make that point. The one that I said is very important. When you see that your choice is not going right, okay, you still should judge your moves at that point, because the use of intellect is a continual process during the action. Yeah. It is not that you make a choice and you see that it is going wrong and you still stick to it. And that comes I remember Napoleon's famous word, charge forward, but leave the path open for retreat.
That's a very good point you said, because we all in our life, I don't want to be specific, but have gone on a slippery path once or twice or something in your life. The people who continued in the slippery path, is one thing, but most of us come back and move forward rather than go that path or continue on that path.
Because bad choices are lessons. And it is good to realize in the middle of it if it's a bad choice or not. Otherwise, you go from bad to worst.
Yeah, and that brings me to this point is, do you have an accountability partner, or are you in an echo chamber? And Duryodhana, he had all these great people around him. Krishna was one of them, but Bhishma, Drona, and many other people, if he was just willing to listen to them, but he instead chose a small circle and created an echo chamber for himself, like Shakuni, who was kind of, sometimes I wonder if he was a friend or a foe, because he kept him on that slippery slope all the time. And Dushasan, one of his brothers, who was the evil brother kind of image that, we look back, these were his close advisors, like close circle, inner circle. So when you were in medical school, I was in medical school, we had a circle. And I'm not saying that we could have gone into bad circle, but it's so easy to get into the bad circle. So what we have this word satsang. What do you think? I mean, Duryodhan kept his company, or
I think it's I link everything to the manifestation of ego. Okay. He thinks his word is the best, his thoughts, and then there are people around him who say, yes, sir. And they come up with suggestions which are pretty bad. To me, it is also amazing that people like Bhishma, Drona, Kripacharya, Karna, they were all in Duryodhana's payroll. Okay, so even though they had some good suggestion, but their suggestion was kind of muted suggestion because being on the payroll. Reminds me of the political situation at present. So the thing is, if you do not have anybody to really analyze the situation in a very neutral manner, then you do not have a proper perspective of the problem and the process. And this is a mistake the powerful people do it, the dictators do it. They always have people who are yes, sir, type of people.
Yeah.
And they don't make them aware. Okay, it reminds me a situation when during 71 war of India, Indira Gandhi wanted to send the army right away in the month of March or April. And Manekshaw said that no, our tanks would not work because that's a lowland and it will be flooded with rainy season. So, Madam Prime Minister, don't do it. So he had the guts to say, no, don't do it. Okay. Yeah. So you need people.
And she heard, she listened.
Yeah, and important point is she heard about it. She listened to him. And that's a very good example when a leader is willing to listen to somebody who has contrarian thought. Yeah. And so it opens up another aspect of any decision making.
Yeah, that's a wonderful point. And some people have used the word silent enabler. So if you're not making the point strongly, and that is, I think you are right, that people around him who were noble people and great people kind of didn't suggest anything strongly to him. But so that way, he had an echo chamber. He knew, what he wanted to do. His ego, his ambition, they were all kind of helping him, enabling him. But all people around him also became silent enablers because they kind of kept quiet.
That's right.
So on the same topic, Amit, this satsang, or what company you keep, there is an explosion of a digital world around us now. So it's not only, when we were growing up, all we did was mix with people like you, me, Kiran, and others. We met together. We used to spend time, play carom board or play volleyball. That was our lifestyle. We did not have any digital invasion in our life, which now has kind of taken the place of people in many places. But that also is a kind of, yeah, what kind of company you keep. Are you spending all your time in video games? Are you spending all your time in watching movies that you shouldn't watch? So there is a new explosion, and I think this will remain a challenge with AI coming along. AI can become a company. You can have a robot as a company. And if you kind of interact with that, how do you interact, or what kind of feedback you want from that is going to be a challenge, don't you think?
I think so. And you may say, you have heard me saying it all the time. Your intellect is your strength. Okay. Whatever you listen, whatever you see, unless you analyze it, okay, your choices become difficult. Okay. And the important part of this analysis is without any ego, without any expectation, in a very, very neutral fashion. We
Right.
have to analyze. Okay. And sometimes it is very hurtful when we see that we are wrong,
Yeah.
okay, in our choices. And that's when we retreat from that choice.
Yeah. So are you open to retreat? I mean, that's a good point, right?
If you are open to retreat, then what is that called? And I mean, there was a nice Hindi word for that, or a colloquial word for that. Ait. Ait was the Hindi word for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you have
You
tied a
know that
knot. Like you have
you
tied a knot, and that knot is so hard, you're not willing to open it. It's like you're,
that's right.
yeah.
And that reminds me the couplet, ये दुनिया में आई के छाड़ी दे तू ऐंठ, लेना है सो ले उठ ही जाता है पैंट.
Mhm.
Okay. And the
I mean,
couplet
that
meaning,
basically, I just want to translate it into English. Simple kind of, the meaning,
yeah,
not exact meaning, is that, yeah, don't get stuck on your kind of, um, your views.
yes,
Yeah.
yes,
But being open is the key. I mean, are you open to suggestions, and are you
absolutely.
willing to change the course? If you are not, you follow and you get the result. I mean, don't complain if you take a wrong path and you end up in a place that you didn't want to be.
This brings in a situation. I see a lot of people writing how bad their childhood was and who did what.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Not everybody is born in an ideal situation.
Right.
Okay. Yes, it affects your psyche, no question about that.
Yeah.
But you have the control to guide yourself. Okay. Now, if you develop that, then you can, howsoever bad situation it is, you strive to get out of it. If it is a mental barrier or barrier from the surroundings, you try to get out of it. Okay.
Right.
For example, when you come from a very primitive type of society or anything, okay, when you see outer world, you find out that the things that you have perceived to be right or limiting, you get beyond that. I remember one of the physics professor, his son was a very bright guy. He got 9 letters in all 9 subjects in senior Cambridge.
Mhm.
He got admission in IIT, but his father, although he was a professor in Patna, he wanted his son to go to Patna Engineering College.
Right.
IIT was much better. So
Right.
what I'm saying again, you have to see the situation, analyze it, and try to make the best of it.
So what happened? Did he go to IIT or did he go to
Yes,
Patna?
he did go to IIT. He didn't listen to his father.
Yeah.
And that was great.
Well, instead of saying he didn't listen to his father, he made his
He
own.
made his own decision. I have got a little thing to relate, very much related. My father told me one time that if you get up in the morning and study, then you remember that very well. So I believe my father. I was in class 9, and in Makhaniya Kuan Road, there was a mosque, and in the morning azan, about 4:30, I used to get up, sprinkle some water on my eyes, and then sit down. And I used to kind of doze off. That half yearly exam, my result was not as good. So I so I didn't listen to my father anymore. I studied till late night as I used to do. I did all right. So
Yeah. No, I think what you are saying is that sometimes you have to make a decision that is
absolutely.
contrary. So it's instead of saying I didn't listen to him, you
Yes.
could say that you made
Yeah.
your own decision, but
I made my own decision.
yeah,
You're right.
which worked because it happened in my case as well. My father, we got admission in Patna Medical College, and he said, "Oh, you're too young. You're babua. You should go next year." But I made a decision to go then. Of course, he supported, but that was
Of
the
course.
point he made. So for me, and I put you in the same position as the other person, they made their point. Maybe there was some point in that, but we made a decision to pursue what we thought was right. And 1 year, would it have made a difference? I don't know, but I was already 1 year late because of the age and requirement, and you were likely the same. So yes, sometimes there are some soft suggestions that come from our parents, and we can that.
I mean, I'm not talking about the parent. I'm talking about your environment sometimes limits you, but you have to be able to look at the environment, find its utilities, its advantage and disadvantage, and then take up the course.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the point. These examples that we talked about, we are not disrespecting the parents. We are saying that you have to look at advantage, disadvantage, and then take up the course. And the earlier it comes in life, better off you are.
Yeah. No. So that's what I think Duryodhana's main thing was making his choice, making his decisions, probably, but he didn't have the choice of going back. Nobody has. We all take our decision and move on. And sometimes, most of the time,
I differ a little bit because Duryodhan, from his childhood, he fostered that sense of revenge, sense of bad intention. I mean, the story of Yatugriya, okay, when he tried to burn the Pandavas,
right.
when he did wrong things to the Pandavas, Dhritarashtra could have guided him. Dhritarashtra was blind, but he could assess the situation. He could have guided him. Okay.
Yeah.
Duryodhan never listened to Gandhari. And
So,
Dhritarashtra
yeah,
was,
Dhritarashtra was his father, Gandhari was his mother. Yeah,
yes.
go ahead.
And Gandhari was very level headed, but Gandhari also did not contradict Dhritarashtra, and Dhritarashtra never tried to steer Duryodhan away from problem. Okay.
Yeah.
Because,
So he was also not only a silent enabler, probably he was complicit. I think he also wanted his son,
yes,
who was the crown prince here,
yes,
basically de facto king, um, to be in that path. I mean, he was probably taking pride that he's the ruler kind of. Yeah, because for 12 or 13 years, Pandavas were out of picture. And he definitely didn't want them to come back and have
yes.
even a small kingdom of 5 villages. So that is fascinating to me, that, making choice in our life, what kind of company we keep, is so important. And in this technological revolution, that company extends to this whole digital world or AI world, and we have to be thoughtful about it. And I think still Gita will have a great value for all of us into making these choices, and having the right company.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, the study of Gita, as you said, how you can mingle your field of action with your spirituality, do the things which are right not only to you and others.
Yeah.
Therefore, your karma kshetra becomes a dharma kshetra as well.
Yeah. No, I think we are coming towards the kind of what we will discuss next time. We will definitely be discussing Arjun's perspective and what kind of company Arjun had and what it meant to him. But before that, the next several slokas, like almost 10 slokas, they are more posturing about the war. People blowing gongs and beating drums and creating that war euphoria. And that's what happens before Arjun comes into picture. And that used to happen, right? Now it doesn't happen. The two armies are, facing each other, and these bands and kind of the beagles and boogles and rhetorics and
I think
posturing goes
that part
on.
of going conch shell, these, that, all the noises, to me, that signifies one thing. It's time of posturing, showing I'm better than you are, we are more, and it kind of gets your heart
Yeah,
pumping,
adrenaline going.
adrenaline going on. And then it's also a time of ego display and confusion.
Yeah,
Okay. It is not the exact war, it is that adrenaline rush.
right.
And 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 that is the background.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it tries to boost your soldiers and intimidate the others, and it has
Yes.
been kind of happening for a long time.
One quick thing about before we leave Duryodhan, I wanted to say Duryodhan is epitome of ego, desire, or lust for power and all that. But Duryodhan has some good qualities. He's
Yeah,
very skillful warrior.
right.
That's number one. Number two, howsoever he is and whatever his purpose, he's pretty loyal to his friends.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, sometimes this loyalty can go in a wrong way,
right.
but he is loyal.
Yeah,
So, what we call emotionally loyal can go in a wrong way when you have got loyalty towards wrong friends,
yeah,
wrong suggestion. So,
yeah. I mean, you have to give that to Duryodhan, that he was able to rule for that many years as a crown prince, but he also has these amazing people around him who for
yes.
one reason or the other, whatever their compulsions were, stick with him. And,
And as I said, for the persons around, if you put them on payroll, they would not talk too much.
right. Yeah, I get it, but some of those people who are beyond payroll, they have,
Yes, they were.
yeah,
But
beyond payroll, what I mean, they did not care about the payroll.
yeah,
But
I mean, I'm not talking about
they had
monetary
some sort
payroll.
of binding, maybe the binding to the nation or binding to Dhritarashtra, the king, whatever those compulsions were at those times, um, they they continued to stick around Duryodhan.
And that is, to me, that is very, very surprising. Is it bowing down to power? Is it their self-interest? And that is an enigma for me.
Right.
People who are so bright, how can they take the side of wrongful doings.
I'm not saying this is the reason, but just think of somebody, a soldier or a general of a country. And even if that country king or president is doing something wrong, they may stick around because they have this view that I have to defend the nation, even if it is for the wrong. So I'm
The
just giving
example
you
of
an
Colin Powell.
example. But
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't
I
know.
can give you an example. Very good. I mean, look at the example of Colin Powell.
Yeah.
Although Iraq does not have any weapon of mass destruction, when he went to UN, he had to defend that. He was representing the country.
Right.
He knew it was not true, and he admitted that when he retired, when he left the job. So I do not know that psychology, how it works. It's a complex psychology.
It is a complex psychology, but whatever the reason, Duryodhan had all these people
Yes.
who were kind of physically with Duryodhan, but were they mentally fully with him? I mean, that may have been a reason for his downfall. Whether in the end, losing the war, because those people's hearts were not with Duryodhan.
Yes, that's a very good point. And you can see that when Bhishma was lying on the bed of arrows and Pandavas goes there and Bhishma's lesson, that's one of the most philosophical part of Mahabharata. And you see that how Bhishma suggests them about life.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's a very good point that you are making. They were mentally or spiritually or by principle, they were not with Duryodhana. They knew it was wrong, but they did not say anything.
Yeah, talking about Bhishma, he was invincible. There was no way anyone could have killed him. So they go to him. Arjun and Krishna go to him and ask him how we can kill you. And he tells him the secret.
Yes.
That bring
And
be in front of me and I will drop my weapons.
yeah, and exactly that is the point that you made. Mentally, they were not with Duryodhana. Otherwise, which general will ask for his own death? And probably that is Bhishma's repentance. It's possible.
Yeah. And that's how he died. I mean, basically, he
Yeah.
told both of them. And yes, it in the right and wrong world, it may be wrong, but there it is. That's what happened.
Yes.
So we can call this episode, this end of this episode. Next time we'll talk more about Arjun and how he sees this whole situation. We have seen how Duryodhana sees. He sees this as a soldier, as a general. He does his statistics and calculations and thinks that he will be the eventual winner, which we know didn't happen. But what does Arjun see? So that's what we will, and we will leave it here.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
No, that's basically it. Duryodhana's character is a big lesson for all of us when you go to any work. Do the work, keep the focus, don't let ego, expectation, desire, lust come in your way. One thing I just wanted to tell you, my personal experience, I worked in the quality management and I learned a wonderful lesson in life. When you look at something wrong happening, okay, look at the process, but not the person. The person is only one part of the process, okay? And look at the process and how you can correct it.
Yeah.
So it is basically being very impersonal analysis.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I have been in some leadership roles, and one thing I know I learned from this Duryodhan's example is don't create an echo chamber. It's so easy to do
Yes.
when you are in leadership role, because then you
Absolutely.
can find people who can kind of, as you said, be yes, yes, yes. So give that flexibility to people to give you honest suggestions, be open-minded, and go from there.
One couplet we learned in the school: Nindak niyare rakhiye angan kuti chhawaye, bin pani sabun bina nirmal kare suha.
Yeah,
Keep your
translate it for people who don't understand Hindi.
keep the critic close to you. Without water and soap, they will clean your character and your path.
That's amazing. I think, yeah, don't shut them away.
No,
Keep
somebody
close to
says
you.
something
Yeah.
and somebody critiques you, keep them close.
धर्म क्षेत्र और कुरुक्षेत्र में मन को मोह का शूल मिला है।